I always thought we had something solid. My wife and I, we were partners in everything. Our lives, our dreams, our love. Or so I thought. We had our challenges, like any couple, but there was a mutual understanding, respect, and commitment. But that all changed the moment I caught her. It started with a feeling, just a nagging sensation deep in my gut. At first, I brushed it off. Everyone gets busy. Relationships ebb and flow. But the signs became impossible to ignore. She was distant. She was spending more and more late nights at work. But when she came home, there was a certain coldness between us. The small details didn't add up, like her secretive behavior with her phone always quick to hide it whenever I came near. There were times when she'd slip up, mentioning things that didn't make sense, or she'd suddenly change the subject when I asked about her day. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just stress, or maybe I was overthinking. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Something was off. I didn't want to believe it. Who wants to believe their spouse is cheating? But there was a gut feeling that grew stronger every day. One night, after she'd mentioned going out with friends, I just couldn't sit back anymore. I told myself I wasn't going to let this eat me alive. I had to know the truth. So, I followed her. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be the kind of person who invades someone's privacy, but my instincts told me to. I found her at a hotel, not a place she'd ever mentioned. My heart dropped when I saw her there, laughing with another man. Their bodies close, the chemistry undeniable. I felt sick to my stomach. My worst fear had been realized. She was cheating. The trust one had in her was shattered in an instant. But it wasn't just the discovery of her infidelity that broke me. It was what she said when she saw me. "You're a minute man," she mocked, as if she didn't even care that I was standing there, heartbroken, watching the life we built crumble before my eyes. Those words stung more than anything else. It wasn't just the affair. It was the contempt behind her words. She had reduced me to something small, insignificant. She belittled me, the man she promised to love and cherish, in the worst possible way. In that moment, I felt a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, anger, humiliation. I wanted answers, but at the same time, I didn't know if I even cared anymore. How could I go back to someone who saw me like that? How could I continue to love someone who had no problem mocking me, insulting me when I was at my lowest? The confrontation was inevitable. I couldn't stay silent. I demanded to know why she did this, why she lied, why she was with someone else. But she didn't offer an apology. She didn't take responsibility. She tried to explain it away. "You don't understand," she said. "It just happened." I didn't know if I should be angrier at her for trying to justify her actions or at myself for not seeing it coming sooner. In the aftermath, I was left in pieces. I questioned everything. Was I not enough? Did she ever really love me? The self-doubt crept in like a virus. If she could cheat on me, what does that say about who I am? Was I not a good husband? Was I not a good lover? It felt like my entire identity had been shattered. But as much as I wanted answers, I knew I couldn't keep torturing myself by holding on to the past. I had to decide what came next. And as hard as it was, I knew I couldn't just forgive and forget. The damage was too deep. The trust had been broken, and I didn't know if I could ever get it back. We've been through some tough times before, but this was different. It wasn't just a fight or an argument that would pass. It was something much deeper, much darker. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I trusted, the woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I didn't know if I could move past that. I wish things had turned out differently. I wish I hadn't been proven right. But more than that, I wish she had respected me enough to be honest, to communicate, to end things before it went this far. What hurts the most is that I loved her, and in return, she chose to deceive me. Now, I'm left with a decision. Can I ever trust her again? Do I walk away? Or do I try to fix this somehow? I know I need time to figure it out, but no matter what happens, I'll never forget that feeling. The feeling of betrayal, the sting of her words, and the realization that someone I loved could so easily tear my heart apart. Time seemed to freeze the moment I stood there, motionless, watching my life fall apart. Every second, every sound, every glance at their faces, everything etched itself into my mind as if carved into stone. I couldn't believe this was happening to me, that everything I thought was unshakable had become as fragile as thin ice beneath my feet. When I finally mustered the strength to look away and walk out, my legs felt weak, and the world around me seemed drained of color. Somehow, I made it home on autopilot, not fully aware of where I was going. One thought kept pounding in my head. How could she? But there was no answer. Only emptiness. That night was one of the longest of my life. I sat in the dark, staring at the empty wall, feeling something inside me slowly breaking apart. Questions surged one after another, crashing over me like waves, but none of them had answers. Why did she do it? Hadn't I tried hard enough? We had shared everything. Our dreams, our plans, our lives. Or had I been blind to how she had been drifting away? The next day, I waited for her to come home, though I wasn't sure how I would even look her in the eye. When she walked through the door, there was a certain cautiousness in her movements. She knew that I knew. We both remained silent. The air between us was heavy, almost suffocating. I couldn't hold it in any longer. The words, full of pain and anger, spilled out of me. Why? I asked, though I knew no answer could justify her betrayal. Why did you do it? She stayed silent for a long time, avoiding my gaze. Then, with a strange coldness in her voice, she finally said, I don't know. It just happened. Those words, her indifference, her attempt to reduce everything to a mere accident, they hurt more than I could have imagined. I had hoped for even a shred of remorse, of regret, but there was nothing. It just happened? I repeated, my voice trembling with rage. You're telling me this is something that just happened, Dash? You destroyed everything we built. For what? A thrill? Curiosity? She tried to dodge the question, but I wouldn't let her. I needed to understand. I needed something, anything, to make sense of it all. But then she said something that shattered me completely. You never understood what I wanted, she said quietly, almost emotionlessly. Those words echoed in my mind. I didn't understand? Did she ever try to explain? Did she ever say what wasn't working for her? No. Instead, she made a choice for both of us, tearing everything apart. After that, I couldn't listen anymore. I walked away, leaving her standing in the living room, the same place where we used to laugh together and plan our future. In the days that followed, the house became unbearably quiet. We avoided each other, like strangers accidentally trapped in the same space. Every corner, every object in the house was a reminder of what we once had, and it was suffocating. I started looking for answers within myself. Questions like, what did I do wrong? And why didn't I see it coming? Became my constant companions. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This was her mistake, her choice. Yes, I wasn't perfect, but no one is. We all make mistakes, but betrayal isn't a mistake. It's a deliberate decision. One evening, as I sat in the silence, I realized I couldn't go on like this. I couldn't live with this weight, this pain, this endless questioning. I decided to confront her one last time. Not to seek answers, but to bring closure. We need to talk, I said when she came home. She nodded, though I could see unease in her eyes. Maybe she was afraid I would say something that would upend her world the same way she had upended mine. I can't live like this, I began. You made your choice, and that choice destroyed everything. I can't trust you anymore. And without trust, there's nothing left. She lowered her eyes. Perhaps, for the first time, she felt something resembling regret. But I wasn't going to stick around to find out. I'm leaving, I said firmly. Not because I'm weak, but because I know my worth. I deserve love, respect, honesty. And if you can't give me that, I'll find it elsewhere. Her face remained impassive, but I noticed a slight quiver in her lips. Maybe, in that moment, she realized she was losing me. I didn't wait for a response. I left, feeling both pain and relief. Pain because it was over. Relief because I no longer had to live a lie. The following weeks were a struggle to learn how to live again. It was hard, almost unbearable. Every day began with memories of what was, and the painful reminder that it would never be again. But with each passing day, it got a little easier. I started to remember who I was before I met her, and who I wanted to become now. I began focusing on things I had put aside for years, reconnecting with friends I had almost lost during my marriage. And you know what I realized? Life goes on. Yes, it will never be the same, but that doesn't mean it can't still be good. Looking back now, I understand. Her betrayal didn't break me. It taught me to value myself, my desires, and my dreams. And though the pain of what she did still lingers, it no longer controls my life. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. I will never again allow anyone to make me feel unworthy of love and respect.